Greetings, my fellow crafters and creatives. Welcome back to episode 54 of Bobolog. My name is Bobby Olan, and this is my vlog where I like to share all of my knitting and other crafty endeavors with you, mainly dabbling in other fiber arts because I just love wool. Housekeeping. My pronouns are she and hers. I am coming to you from Victoria, Australia, and I would like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which I live and create, the Bobolog peoples, and I would like to pay my respects to their elders, past, present, and future. Any links to anything that I talk about in this vlog will be in the YouTube description down below. If I miss anything, just drop me a comment, let me know, and I will fix that up for you. What else is housekeeping? Is that all of the housekeeping? You can find me on Instagram and Ravelry and Discord as some form of my name, Bobby Olan, if you want to connect with me on any of those platforms. I really only use Discord to look in on the Australian Knitters Discord group, but I should still get notifications because I have most notifications turned off because it was really overwhelming to get all of the notifications for all of the chatter that was happening in there. So I've turned notifications off, but surely if you do message me through there, then I should still get notified for it. Anyway, I should just jump into the crafting, and as you can see, I am wearing a brand new make here. So let us just jump straight into handy dandy finished objects. This first pattern is the V-Back Tee by Jamie Hoffman, and if you want to know more about the pattern and about the yarns I'm using, I encourage you to watch my past couple of episodes if you haven't done so already. It has been over a week since I have touched this, and I am still not feeling well, but I'm dying to pick these up again and get knitting on the sleeves. The smart part of my brain is telling me to wait until I feel better, but I just don't want to. I don't want to wait. I'm going to do it. My plan is to do one sleeve at a time until I finish. Let me start that again. So when I separated the sleeves and the body, I was partway through one of the color transitions. So my plan is to knit one sleeve until I finish that color transition, just because I'm also hoping that will help me tidy up this mess when I pick up the stitches and all of that and get to working in the round. So one sleeve for a little section, get past the color transition, and then do the other sleeve up to the same point, and then start working both of them at the same time in magic loop. And I am also, because I'm feeling lazy, instead of slipping the stitches off these keeper cords onto needles, I may just try knitting off them. That's probably not smart. You know what? I won't do that. Will I? No, I won't. That's crazy talk. That's the brain fog working, and I shouldn't listen to the brain fog part of my brain. I just started working the sleeves 2 at a time, magic loop. I did one sleeve, and then I did the second sleeve, and I used the wrong needle. How am I supposed to keep knitting this sleeve? Fun times. When I first started knitting on the sleeves, I wasn't really paying attention to my yarn ball, and I really should have, because I am knitting out of both ends of the ball of yarn because of the difference in colors between the two balls that I talked about in my previous episode. Anyway, once I did start paying attention to my yarn management, it was actually pretty easy to look after. When I am working on the sleeve that has the yarn coming from the center of the ball, I have that part of the ball facing towards me. And then when I am knitting the other sleeve, which has the yarn going around the ball, then I flip it around the other way so that the yarn coming from the center of the ball is at the back and the yarn coming off the ball isn't wrapping around it as I'm working along. That was all going really smoothly, but now I have started doing the color transition in the sleeves, and because I only have one ball of the color pooling yarn, I am again working from both ends of one ball, and it is quite messy doing that with two different balls of yarn at the same time. So that's a bit of fun. I've been knitting away on the sleeves, and I've gotten this far from where they started. So there was only a tiny little bit of transition from the pooling yarn to the striping yarn that I had to do at the very, very start of the sleeve. And then I have done another transition back into the pooling yarn. But I know that I am not going to have enough to do another band that is this wide. I think I'm going to be like, I don't know, 7, 8 rows off or something like that, which is quite a lot. But this is all the yarn that I had left, and I knew that I wasn't going to have enough. So when I finished transitioning back into this yarn, I weighed how much I had left, and then I knit a few rows, and then I weighed it again to try to figure out how many grams is being eaten up with each row. So I have stopped at a point where I am hoping that I have just enough, or at least enough, to do the transition back into the striping yarn. So I am hoping for at least 3.2 grams. Let's see. Oh, plenty. That is actually more what I was expecting. I knit one low less than I had calculated that I'd be able to. So 3.9 is perfect. So I'll be able to knit one more round and then do the transitions. And that should use up all of this yarn, and that is great. And then I will be transitioning into the striping yarn and knitting the rest of the sleeves in the striping yarn, which will actually suit the back a little bit because you can see the pooling strand doesn't go all the way. Anyway, so one thing that I was trying to figure out is how I would possibly do this bottom bit, because, as I have said in previous episodes, this and this, they're different balls, but they're meant to be the same colorway and dye look, but they look very, very, very different, which I wasn't the most thrilled about, but it was fine because that is at the bottom of the body and that's it. That's fine. The problem now will be going into the sleeves. So this is all the yarn that I have left of the original ball that I did the body and this bit of the sleeves in, and then I have quite a bit left of the second ball. Now, these are my original swatches, and you can see that it really does more closely resemble this color than it does this color here. Although, yes, yeah, but this was the other end. My yarn's all coming apart now. This is the other end of the same ball that was this yarn. So it's not like I could do what I did with the top of the sleeves where I knit from both ends of the one ball to make sure that they're all the same. So I was thinking, what do? I would probably have to knit one sleeve at a time. But then I was looking at this more closely. I've been knitting from the outside of the ball. And actually, I feel like maybe I've already used up all of the yarn that is this sort of whiter / high contraster varying colorway. So my hope is that I can just do the sleeves, one ball on each sleeve, and they are not going to look drastically different. I mean, they look the same. I'm not seeing any of that really white. The darks are maybe a little bit darker, but not that much. I feel like, yeah, I'm kind of just going to go for it, because that will be much easier to knit as well if each sleeve is coming from its own ball of yarn rather than trying to knit from two ends of the same ball. And I definitely don't have enough of this first ball to knit both sleeves, but hopefully I'll have enough to do one. I've gotten past the last color transition, so I just wanted to show you where I'm at with the yarns that I'm using. So here I've got the stripes going in opposite directions, but these are from the same ball of yarn, and you can see that the color is the same. And then now that I have started, now that I've gotten back into the last bit of the self-striping yarn and I'm working from the two different balls, I am finding that they are more different than I would have liked them to be. One of the biggest differences is that this section here, it has the dark color and then it goes into the bit where it's like white and dark grey blue, whereas in the other yarn, for some reason, that section is all just in the dark color, which I don't love. And I was actually thinking, since this ball is bigger, I would just finish this sleeve and then hopefully I would have enough of that ball to finish off this sleeve so that the bottoms of these sleeves are the same. And then as I'm contemplating that, I only just realized for the first time that this pooling yarn actually behaved really differently in each of these sleeves. So on one of the sleeves it pooled, and on the other sleeve it's just completely random. So I'm now thinking that, well, maybe there's no point in me trying to make the bottoms of these sleeves match, because this section is different anyway. So I'm not sure about that. And I do think it's okay for sleeves to be more different because they're not side by side. They're not. Your arms are on either side of your body and they're not next to each other, so maybe it's not really going to be noticeable and it'll be okay. I'll have to have a think about that. I decided to keep going with the yarns as I had them, and I'm really glad that I did, because I actually misspoke when I said that the striping was completely different. I'd said that one of the yarns was missing this patterning section, I guess you'd call it, and it only had the darker color as like a thick solid stripe, but I hadn't actually paid enough attention to how the stripes work, and it actually alternates between the thick solid stripe and a thinner solid stripe with a thin patterning stripe. So they actually match, but the yarns are still a little bit different just in terms of color saturation. So these are the two sleeves, and you can pretty clearly see that this one is darker than this one. But I am not fussed. Like I said before, your sleeves are on opposite sides of your body. They're never really going to be together. And you're like, I don't think it's that noticeable of a difference. It's not like in the body where it was really like whiter overall. So that's good. And I hadn't planned to do it in this way where the stripes are going, where the striping sequence is going in opposite directions, but I'm also really happy that that's just kind of how it worked out with how I started working from each of the balls, because it's just a little bit less pressure for things to be matching. However, it has also pretty much worked out that I have, like if I did put my arms side by side, I've got the dark bits lining up with like the brighter bits. So that's kind of cool. And yeah, nearly done with those. The V-back tee is finished and it is on the blocking mats. Let me take you in close for all of my errors. Well, not really errors. You can see here that while the stripe section in the bamboo yarn is nice and flat, the wool yarn, wool nylon blend yarn, I mean this has wool and nylon in it too, but it's got bamboo. Anyway, you can see that this is all like ripply, and that was something that I was aware of while I was knitting it, and especially when I tried it on in my previous video, I was aware that there was rippling there, and that is honestly like completely all my, like, I don't want to say my fault, my error, it's nothing to do with the pattern. It's purely because I only swatched in one yarn and not the other yarn, and probably I should have gone down a needle size whenever I was working with the wool yarn. So that's all on me. I don't know actually if it does it on the other panels though. So maybe something to do with, hang on, let me just flip it over and see what it's doing. All right, flipped. And interestingly, it's not actually doing as much of the rippling on the back of it. So maybe it is something to do with the shaping of the sweater. I will have to find out when I knit a second one, because I definitely do want to knit a second one at some point. And when I do that, I will make sure to use the same fibre content for all of the yarn picks. And for that one, I will want to use 5 different yarns. I'm really, really happy with how this has turned out though. You can see that it's less obvious when I'm wearing it that, I mean, these kind of line up more, this panel here and this panel here, when it is being worn, but this is shorter. It's shorter than this chunk anyway, so it's not really like a complete match. What else did I want to say? Oh, some of my short rows are pretty sloppy, but there's so much movement in the yarn colors that no one is ever going to notice. They're a bit better on one side than the other. I think this might be the sloppier side. I'm not really sure, but who's ever really going to look at that? I love this basically, and yeah, I want to knit one more long sleeve and I want to knit another short sleeve. So obviously I highly recommend this pattern. The V-back tee is finished. Here it is. And there is definitely some weird like bagginess going on, but it's like confined to this section here of this yarn, this panel. So I don't know if it's because of my tension with this particular panel, or, you know, with this yarn, I should say, or if it's like a weird shaping thing with the pattern, but I kind of don't think so, because I haven't seen, like in other people's projects, I haven't seen, well, maybe I just haven't looked for it, but I just haven't seen that kind of weirdness anywhere else. I probably, because this is definitely more than 3 to 4 centimeters of ease, which is what the pattern calls for. So I totally could have gone down either a needle size or a pattern size, but I still love it. I'm still so happy with it. Is that even obvious, or is it just one of those things that I am aware of because I made it? Anyway, if I have the sleeves like fully hanging down, you can see that the panel kind of matches up, but I did knit the sleeves long for what I like to wear. Like, they're not too bad. If I don't need to use my hands, then this is kind of nice that it covers up my hands. And I kind of knew, it's like, again, my own fault, I kind of knew that it was going to be long, but I just kept going out of stubbornness, but also because I was determined to finish this while I was still quite sick. And I was just sort of like rushing through it and not really paying attention, which is not how you should be knitting. Anyway, if I just tuck the sleeves in like that, it's totally fine. Oh, and there's the V-back. No idea how that's falling back there. I actually want to try something. Let me see if I can do it. Whoa. Oh my goodness. I don't know how Wonder Woman does it. I am not doing that again. But there is the V. Oh, there's the V in the front for you. I feel like this weird shaping is more obvious here. I really think I made too big of a size. I think that's my main issue. And I do actually feel like I think it looks better with the V at the back. So there you have it. I only just got this done in time, well, in time to block it and have it just finished drying, I think probably overnight last night, so that I could wear it in the vlog today. I really, really do think that my issues with it are because I just knit the wrong size, and also because I didn't do a swatch for the second yarn, which is a completely different fiber content. I definitely want to make more, but I should measure myself again, because I feel like the measurements that I'm going off for my body when I choose knits, I feel like I have lost a bit of weight since then. So possibly I am choosing sizes that are too big for me. But I don't know where I was going with that thought. I think I just need to measure myself again. Before I keep going with showing you more of the vloggy content, I wanted to have a chatty segment. I don't know what I'm thinking this morning. My mind is kind of all over the place because you saw me just spin myself into dizziness, and that has addled my brain. The next section that I wanted to chat to you about is eyes and ears, where I like to share, well, usually someone that I have been watching, but possibly sometimes also podcasts and books, who knows. Trying to keep it crafty related though, I wanted to mention one of the people that I am still historically watching from way back when. My historical vlog watching is now up to 2018. And one of the people that I have been watching from way back then, who is still vlogging now, I believe, is Maria of the Stitched in Sweden vlog. I wanted to call it a podcast, and a lot of people do call these things podcasts, but to me, it is still a video log because it is someone taking video and logging. Anyway, Maria of Stitched in Sweden, her channel started off really focused on knitting, but it turns out that she's actually quite a really seasonal multi-crafty maker. And while I have heard other people talk about this, I feel like there's only two people that I've really watched or am aware of that like really put this into practice, where in winter and colder months they will work on one type of craft, and then in summer and warmer climates, did I say winter crafts? Winter months, cold months. I don't know what I'm thinking this morning. When it's warmer, they do other projects, and Maria is one of those people. So she used to like not vlog. Initially, I think she didn't vlog during summer because she just stopped knitting completely, and she started Stitched in Sweden as a knitting channel. But as you go along and continue watching her videos, she does actually start sharing more of her summer makes, which is primarily sewing, which is so nice to see. She's like, she talks a lot about, I mean, she calls herself a beginner when she starts off, but the makes that she makes, the things that she sews are so impressive. And she got really into bra making at one point, and she was making the most beautiful bras. And like the way that she talks about it, it's just like anyone can do it. Like, well, I mean, she was going off a lot of kits, but then she did it enough and she learned enough about it that she was able to like make her own modifications and mishmash like different design elements together to make bras that fit her and that like she liked the style of. And it's just amazing. And she later on, she also talks about how she thinks that bra making really upped her game in terms of her sewing skills, which I also think is really, really cool. And part of me is like so inspired to make bras, but at the same time, I'm also so intimidated by it. And I barely have time for like sewing anything. Well, I don't have time for sewing anything at all because I don't prioritize it. But she just makes it sound so doable, and she encourages people to just give it a go because she was a beginner and she was able to do it. So I find that really inspiring. And she does still knit, and she does knit like beautiful things as well. I feel like she knits more gifts, and she knits a lot of things for like babies and kids of family and friends. But I actually don't have anything really to say about her knits, because to me the thing that really stands out about her channel is the sewing. Moving on to the next segment, we will go back to Handy Dandy, but this time works in projects. And the first project that I want to share, looking at my notes, is the Optic Blanket, which is a free pattern by Purl Soho, and I am knitting it in a Purl Soho yarn that has since been discontinued, which is called Flax Down, which I believe is like an alpaca linen wool blend or something like that. Anyway, here is where I'm at with it. I have just finished the first ball of the white coloured yarn, and I am part way through the 7th square. So, just going to mark that on this little sort of chart that I have been keeping, just because I'm obsessive like that. So I've just been saying the squares in the order that I'm knitting them in, and then the first number is the dark ball, black, and the second number is the white ball. So on the second ball of the black, and this square was used ball 1 and 2 of the white one. Completely unnecessary, but that's me. And then I have the second ball here to go, and get the end of it there. And I think because I'm feeling lazy and I'm partway through a row, I'm just going to do a lazy join like that. And that ball is all joined up, and I can just keep going. I am starting to feel better, thank goodness, but I am still nowhere near 100%. The worst thing is my head, and yesterday when I was knitting on my Optic Blanket, it's such a simple pattern, and I was just making mistakes, and I had to rip back like a dozen rows of what I'd knit and go again. But while I am here, I just thought I'd mention something that I keep forgetting to mention, and that was just on the needles. So I'm knitting this on 4.5 mil, my usual 4 square needles, and on the opposite end of each I'm using a Luca 3.5 mil needle, just because that's easiest. And I start off each square on this cable isn't marked, yes it is, on a 60 centimeter cable with one long tip and a short tip, and then I move to 2 short tips and a 50 centimeter cable, and then I move to 2 short tips on a 40 centimeter cable. And then for a couple of rows, because you know each round is getting smaller, so as it gets too hard to work on the sides that I'm on, I go down. Then for a couple of rounds, I start working with 2 cables, and then when I'm about 8 rounds from the center, I switch to some 4mm DPNs, and I've done that on pretty much every square except the first one, and it has not really made a difference to go down a needle size for the center portion of those squares. So that's really handy because I don't have 4.5mm DPNs, and it was not fun working those little bits on 2 or 3 of these needles because I'm trying to avoid buying more if I can get away with it. So that's been very, very handy. And yeah, if you're making this and you're in the same situation, going down a needle size was totally fine, thankfully. This has been, aside from all of those mistakes yesterday, I still feel like this has been a pretty good project to work on while I have been unwell and my brain has not been working. So, I mean, possibly if I had started the sleeves of the V-back tee, that would just be stocking it in the round, although then I would need to keep track of decreases. So maybe this is actually simpler. Anyway, I'm gonna not go into babbling and gonna get back to it. I've been plugging away on the Optic Blanket and I'm making really good progress, and I just realized that there is one little detail about how I have managed the color changing of the yarns with each round. I'll just show you. So this here is the very first square that I did, and whenever I changed colors, I was twisting the yarns around each other one way, and I wasn't really paying attention to how it looked. And when I finally did pay attention, I didn't like how visible that was. I felt like, you know, the other corners weren't as visible, although this one's not great. I think they're just a bit loose. Anyway, so I have since changed how I am doing it, and now it looks like that. So if you're comparing it to the other corners, it is still visible if you're looking really closely, but I feel like it's a lot less obvious. So that was the original, and that is the new way that I've been doing it. I think that's less obvious, but now that I'm looking at this, I'm like wondering, is it actually more of a match? The pattern does have like a recommended way of how you twist the stitches around each other. I should probably look at what they recommend and just follow that. I've started square number 10, so I thought I'd give a clearer demonstration of how I've been managing the yarn changes. So originally what I was doing is I was crossing them this way. So old yarn goes on top, and then I start working with the new color, and then when I come around, I would do the same thing. So even though I'm still, because you work 2 rows of each color, so every single round I would do the crossover. And then when I decided I didn't love how that looked, I started, what did I start doing? Oh, yeah, I think I was doing that. I was doing something that sort of involved more wrapping around. But the Purl Soho guide says to just do this one, which is the simpler one. but it looked like they were only doing it when you change colors and not every single round. And it was a little bit visible, but it still looked nice. So since that is a simpler method, I think I'll just stick with that. All right, last demonstration of this yarn management, I promise. But I have knit a few more rows in so I can show you what it looks like. So this is when I'm twisting the yarns only on the rounds where I'm changing the colors. And like, it's neat, but it's quite visible, isn't it? And I think I like it better how I was doing it. Where is it? Here. I feel like it just blends in more. So I may just revert back to doing that. I was actually doing it the same way that Pearl Soho had recommended, where the old yarn is going over the top from right to left, like that. But yeah, my difference is that I was doing it every round, and I think that they were only doing it on when you're actually changing a color. So I think I'm going to go back to every round. This Optic Blanket is coming along. This is the back, obviously. And I just wanted to say that ball number 2 of the black, this is ball number 3. Ball number 1 got me 5 squares with, where is it? Where are you? With this much yarn left over. This much, this much, this much, this much. So that was the end of ball 1 of the black. Ball 2 actually left me with a little bit more, and it was just the right amount to cast on for the 11th square. So yep, 5 squares on ball 1, 5 plus a cast on from ball 2. Let's see where ball 3 takes me. Oh dear. Oops. We'll talk about that later. But I wanted to show you how big this is. And as you would have seen, I'm totally sort of going off plan in how I assemble these pieces. But that's what I have so far. Hello. So it needs to have one more square this way, like widthways the way that I am holding it. And like 5 more this way. Put that away. Hello, this is Editing Bobby here, just jumping in to say that my first pass of editing this video got it at just under 2 hours long, and I don't think anyone wants that. So I am actually going to split it up into 2 videos. So thank you so much for watching so far, and I hope that you come back for part 2.